The hum of the engines was steady, almost like a lullaby. Passengers murmured quietly, seatbelt lights glowed faintly, and in row 10, seat C, a young woman named Amara Velen leaned against the window, drifting in and out of sleep. She had been traveling for almost 12 hours, exhaustion painting her face. No one noticed her. Not the businessman tapping on his laptop, not the teenager scrolling endlessly on his phone. She was just another traveler, another soul suspended thousands of feet in the sky. But then, a voice cut through the cabin, firm and unexpected. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. If there are any combat pilots on board, please make yourself known to the crew immediately." The passengers froze. Heads turned. Murmurs erupted. Something was wrong, terribly wrong. Amara's eyes snapped open. Her pulse raced. That wasn't a normal announcement. She had heard those words before, years ago, not as a passenger, but as a combat pilot herself, a decorated one, though she had left that life behind. For a moment, she sat frozen. Memories flooded back. The roar of jet engines, the suffocating heat of desert missions, the way her fingers trembled after every landing. She had walked away from that life because it had cost her too much, her peace, her sleep, her ability to smile. Now, in this ordinary plane full of ordinary people, her past was calling her back. The flight attendants moved quickly, whispering to each other, eyes darting nervously toward the cockpit. The passengers whispered louder now. A mother clutched her baby. A man demanded to know what was happening. Amara took a deep breath. She could stay silent. She could pretend she was just another woman on a plane. Or she could stand up. She stood. The entire row turned to her. For a moment, she wished she had stayed seated. But then she saw the relief on the face of the lead flight attendant, who hurried toward her. "Ma'am, are you a pilot?" "Yes," Amara said softly, "I was." The attendant's eyes filled with tears of relief. "Please follow me." Amara's legs trembled as she followed the attendant toward the cockpit. The whispers in the cabin grew louder, and she caught fragments. "Is she really? She looks so young. God bless her." Inside the cockpit, the captain's face was pale. The co-pilot was slumped in his chair, unresponsive. "Heart attack," the captain said quickly. "I need someone who understands combat aircraft systems. We're flying blind on one engine, and the turbulence ahead, it's brutal. I can't do this alone." Amara's heart pounded. This wasn't a fighter jet, it was a massive passenger plane, full of hundreds of lives depending on her. But she saw the same controls, the same language of flight she had once spoken fluently. She slid into the co-pilot seat. Her hands trembled for only a second before instinct took over. "Captain," she said firmly, "let's stabilize this bird." The two worked in unison, voices calm despite the storm outside. Amara's commands were sharp, decisive, the voice of someone who had once guided steel through fire. Every second felt like a lifetime, but slowly, the chaos steadied. The alarms quieted. The plane began to glide smoother. Outside the cockpit door, passengers sat in silence, their fear shifting into awe. A stranger, someone asleep in row 10, was saving them. Finally, after what felt like hours, the captain made another announcement. His voice cracked with emotion. "Ladies and gentlemen, thanks to the assistance of a passenger, a former combat pilot, this aircraft is stabilized. We are safe." Applause erupted. Tears flowed. People hugged strangers. In row 10, where Amara's seat still sat empty, the teenager with the phone whispered, "She's a hero." But Amara didn't hear it. Her focus remained locked on the horizon, on the quiet power of the sky. For the first time in years, she felt something she thought she had lost: purpose. And when the wheels finally touched down, smooth and sure, the entire cabin stood to their feet. As she stepped out, heads bowed in gratitude, hands reached to touch her arm, and voices whispered words she had once pushed away but now allowed herself to hear. "Thank you." Sometimes, kindness isn't a gentle word or a soft smile. Sometimes, kindness is courage. And Amara's kindness was this. choosing to stand when she could have stayed silent. 2 weeks later, Amara Velen walked through a quiet hospital corridor. She had been invited, not by the airline, not by the media, but by a young woman named Elena, one of the passengers from that unforgettable flight. Elena's little brother, Jonas, had been on board too. A boy of only 9, fragile and ill, traveling for medical treatment. Amara remembered the pale child clutching his toy airplane, eyes wide with fear during the turbulence. Now, Elena wanted her to meet him. Amara hesitated outside the hospital room, but Elena smiled warmly. He hasn't stopped talking about you. He says you're braver than any superhero he's ever read about. When Amara entered, Jonas's eyes lit up like sunlight. You're the pilot, he exclaimed, holding up his toy plane. You saved us. Amara laughed softly. Well, your sister saved you too. She kept you calm when things were scary. Jonas shook his head fiercely. No. You were the one who helped everyone. I want to be like you when I grow up. The words pierced Amara's heart. She had once believed her past as a combat pilot was nothing but scars and regret. Yet here was a child, weak, hopeful, brimming with dreams, who saw her not as broken, but as strong. Over the following weeks, Amara began visiting Jonas often. She told him stories, not about war, but about flying, about the beauty of the skies, the freedom above the clouds. Jonas listened, eyes wide, clutching his toy plane. Slowly, she realized these visits weren't just helping him, they were healing her too. The weight of her past began to lift. She laughed more, slept easier, and for the first time in years, she stopped running from who she had been. One afternoon, when Jonas was too weak to leave his bed, he whispered, "Can you promise me something?" "Anything," Amara replied. "When I get better, will you teach me how to fly?" Her throat tightened. She took his small hand in hers. "Yes, Jonas. I promise. And even if you never fly a real plane, you'll always carry wings inside you." Weeks turned into months. Jonas's health wavered, but his spirit never dimmed. And Amara, once a woman lost, once asleep in row 10, had found a new mission, helping a child believe in the sky again. On the anniversary of the flight, the airline hosted a small gathering. Survivors came together, sharing hugs, tears, and gratitude. Amara stood quietly at the back, not seeking recognition, but peace. Then Jonas, frail but smiling, stepped forward with his toy plane. He held it out to her with trembling hands. "This is for you," he said, "because you gave me hope." Amara knelt, tears blurring her vision. "No, Jonas. You gave me hope." The room fell silent, moved by the simple exchange. It was then that everyone realized, sometimes the greatest way we can help others isn't by saving them once, but by walking with them through the days after. Amara hadn't just saved a plane. She had helped a boy dream again, and in doing so, she had helped herself heal.